Well, thank you for showing up to this show. My goodness, what an interesting day it has been for me. I hope I can make it through the entire show. I've been battling a dual ear infection, and I can barely hear. I've had to turn my sound up to my headphones. Probably cranked them all the way up. And if it continues much longer, I'm going to have to learn how to read sign language because I could just barely hear anything. That's such an interesting feeling to slowly lose your hearing as I have over the past few days. And at first I started to panic, and so we went to the store and got some wax out stuff that you put in your ear and it kind of foams up, and that didn't seem to help. And I stuck so many Q-tips, and they warn you don't do that, but I must have shoved a dozen of them down my ear over the last couple of days, and I think I caused an inflammation in both of my ears, and now they're nearly closed up completely. And so the world is actually the world, because of my hearing loss, is near perfect, because I don't have to listen to a damn thing you have to say, because most of you are just a bunch of idiots anyway. Hey, so anyway, that's how it's going for me. And yes, it is rough. I know that we've got a lot of new listeners tonight, so I might as well introduce them to the real version of this show. I was checking out the news, as I do every day, and I came across this poll. Now, this came out on January 12th, so I missed it initially. But it says most Americans would trim liberties to be safer. And it came out of the McClatchy newspapers. The article is written by Stephen Thoma. And of course, most Americans are going to trim their liberties in order to be safer, because they're a bunch of worthless bastards that would sell their soul for convenience each and every day, sell their grandchildren's sense of freedom and independence so that Grandma and Grandpa today can get by a little easier. It says here, let me read this, because it is amazing to me. After a recent attempted terrorist attack set off a debate about full-body X-rays at airports, a new McClatchy poll finds that Americans lean toward giving up some of their liberty in exchange for more safety. The survey found 51% of Americans agreeing that it is necessary to give up some civil liberties in order to make the country safe from terrorism. Even though they were warned by the Founding Fathers not to ever do that, to hell with them, to hell with their wisdom and their warnings, and do it anyway. Because it's only about today. We're just full of a bunch of weak-kneed Americans, and I spell that with a K. I just cannot believe it is. But I want to tell you my version of this news story, because you guys know by now, if you've listened to the show, that there's the media's version and then there's the truth. And the truth is this: you can always find the lie in the news article if you know how to approach it. And this is the lie. The survey found 51% of America's blah, blah, blah. That's the lie. See, they were doing this poll until they finally eked up to 51%, and then they pulled the plug. I guarantee you, and they probably only asked 87 people. If you go and research polls, folks, whether they're political during a race for president or whatever, it doesn't matter. The polls are almost insignificant in scope. They usually only ask around 100 people. They think that's significant enough numbers to figure out what the hell you're thinking. And, of course, they can skew things if it's a small number, because you can get your staff to bump it a percent or two if they just go and answer the poll right, or have their family come in and answer it a particular way. And that's what they do. When they got this to go to 51%, folks, that is just over the edge, right? That's just the majority. And then they pull the plug on it. Why would they do it? Because they think that this poll influences how you think. And you're probably dumb enough that you are influenced by crap like this. That's the problem. That's the scary thing for me. I know that most people that listen to this show don't give a crap, don't give a rat's ass about freedom or any of it. It's just a sitcom for them. Sit back on your rear and just watch it all unfold. But I don't know. I just think that there's almost no end to how stupid people are and how far we will fall as a nation day after day. But it's the propaganda like that. Do I think that a lot of Americans will give up their freedom for security? Absolutely. You've already proven that you would do that. But do I believe that poll? No. Because I take polls of my own, as you guys know. I take polls of my own over at my blog. If you want to know how real patriots feel, then check those polls out. I'll run a few of them by you a little bit later, and we'll see how that influences you. And if it makes you nervous, then I suspect that you ought to change your ways, because it means that you're on the wrong side of the fence from us. Who's us? Well, we're Davy Crockett. Hey, so almost never is a good time to surrender your freedom. And almost never is exactly when someone is held responsible for a failure within the federal government. Think about it. Go back to the space shuttle disasters, or 9/11. Think of that. How come no one lost their job at the Pentagon? You know? Everybody had a stand down issue, right? There's just never any accountability within the federal government. It is simply what's going on is by keeping people from being held responsible, we are slowly transferring our personal sovereignty, which begins with responsibility, right, to a hive mind or a mass order. And if it is anything, it's got to be the destruction of the individual, because no one person is ever held accountable. And half of all people in this country eligible to be employed are working for government at some level. Now, a lot of you are snitches. Yeah. We've got news stories on that, too. But as far as local, state, county, and federal government levels, you account for half of the population. So, is America a government? Yeah, just about. We're just an institutionalized hive mind almost. But I think they are trying to create a new man, a man that never reaps the consequences, folks. A being of some sort that rejects the divine gift of the conscience. That's where conscience comes from, folks. And he's not going to know karma. And his reward for failure and for ruthlessness, because he's learned that there's no consequence, is just a continuation. Good job. Well done, I guess.